Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and hi, my name is Nur Nabila binti Abdurrahman and welcome to my FYP presentation titled as A Study on the Implementation of Public Transport Services from Users' Perception, Case Study in Kuala Lumpur. My student ID is 2020-899-014 and my code diri is RES6556E20 and I have been supervised by Puan Suhana binti Ismail. I hope this thesis will give a lot of benefits in future. For introduction, transportation is one of the most essential and significant attributes in people as satisfies the fundamental requirements of moving between various locations, the necessities shared by travelers and transportation for various purposes. The rise in vehicle uses in the industrialized nations and around urban communities have brought to the rise in the issues on availability of accessibility as prompted by gridlocks and parking problems. According to Mortazavi and Akbarzadeh, public transportation provides a number of advantages including high usefulness of data sources such as fuel and metropolitan framework, limit and adherence to sustainable development principles. Besides that, according to Kennedy Como, transportation system is a collection of vehicles such as buses, trains, cars, bicycles, and footpaths that people use to get around. Estimating a transportation framework's versatility and availability can anticipate its major handiness. A major highway, for example, is a very mobile that the vehicles can go at high rates and the street can uphold a lot of freight. Moving on to the problem statement, according to Natividad, a journalist from World News, the public transportation in Malaysia mostly is not convenient for the users. This has been discussed to where the users feel that the process to reach at the public transport from their house is complicated. The transportation development in Malaysia currently is not really efficient, whereby there are many lacking in terms of punctuality and heavy road congestion, mostly in urban area due to unsystematic town planning. This has caused sluggishness, cerebral pain and stress towards the users. Furthermore, transportation and rail administration do not adhere to the given plan. The majority of the time, transportation administration does not have a timetable, which makes it difficult for travelers to plan their movements. This study aims for the understanding on the user's perception on the public transportation services implementation. There are two objectives. First is to study the implementation of public transport services, and second is to study the user's perception on the public transportation services. For the definition of term, first is transportation. Transport or transportation is the movement of people and goods from one place to another. The term is derived from the Latin trans, across, and portar, to carry. Meanwhile, perception, according to Jacob and Kajima Agape, perception refers to our comprehension of what we perceive via our senses. We are not the same as various organisms and are distinct in relation to one another because of how we perceive our current situation. Perception is based on sophisticated sensory systems operations. It appears to be simple in the abstract since it occurs outside of aware attention. Moving on to research and methodology, the data collection method is using a primary data, which is mainly a questionnaire, and the approach of the study is using a quantitative method. For the evaluation of data, it will be used SPSS, and the target population is the individual who lives in Kuala Lumpur, and the sample size for the study is 135 respondents. In the conceptual framework, the IV consists of 4 implementations upon the public transportation services, which is maintenance, accessibility to the public transportation station and road congestion, punctuality of the public transport services, and also safety. Meanwhile, for the DV, it consists of users' perception. Moving on to the data analysis, first is the demographic profiling. So for the race, Malay holds the highest frequency with 122 respondents, while for the gender, female has the highest frequency of 92 out of 135 respondents. Meanwhile, for the age, it is ranged from 1930, has the highest frequency, which is at 106. Most of the respondents are degree holders with a frequency of 89. Not just that, most of the respondents are students with a 85 frequency, and For the household income, most of the respondents have a total of less than 2,500 household income with a frequency of 57. In the data analysis, there are 4 elements of public transportation implementations that is recorded, which are maintenance, the accessibility to the public transportation station and road congestion, the punctuality of the public transport services, and also safety. For maintenance, the table shows that the highest mean is statement B1.3, which is the ventilation system in the public transport is well maintained at 3.51 mean value, followed by statement B1.2, ticketing systems are convenient and reliable with the second mean value at 3.50, and lastly for statement B1.1, the public transport gets maintained regularly and efficiently with the mean value of 3.29. For accessibility, based on the table shows that statement B2.1, the journey connection from my house to the public transport area is easily accessible, records as the highest mean at 2.81, followed by statement B2.3, the traveling needs of the mobile impaired such as elderly, physically disabled, and young children are well taken care of, and B2.4, the journey from my house to the public transport area is so smooth, no traffic congestion, that records the same mean at 2.59. And lastly, for statement B2.2, the existing pedestrian walkways to lead towards public transport in Malaysia are very adequate and reduce road congestion, records a 2.56 mean. For punctuality, based on the table shows that the highest mean is by statement B3.3, where KTM Berhad is always on time and rarely gets delayed at 2.74 mean value, followed by the second highest mean that is shared by statement B3.1, the bus driver is always arriving on time at the stop stations, and B3.2, the public transport schedule is always aligned with the arrival timing, which is at 2.67 mean value. Moving on to the safety, based on the table shows that statement B4.2, I have never experienced a dooring accident such as being jammed by the door or the uncontrolled opening of the door, records as the highest mean at 3.59, followed by statement B4.3, the train handle is very user-friendly at 3.52. Then statement B4.4, the design of the public transport is user-friendly, especially for those in need. For example, disabled person, senior citizen, and etc. at 3.29 mean value. And lastly, for statement B4.1, the public transport is always in a clean and safe condition, which consists of a total of mean value at 3.29 mean. Cronbach's alpha is used in this reliability analysis. Cronbach's alpha constancy is a well-known proportion of unwavering quality in the social and conduct sciences. Cronbach's alpha of 0.6 is respected terrible, 0.7 is viewed as fair, and 0.8 is thought of as good. The first independent variable, which is maintenance, has a Cronbach's alpha of 0.816, which considered good. The next independent variable, accessibility to the public transportation station and road congestions, also scored 0.816 Cronbach's alpha value. Then, for the punctuality of the public transport services, scored the highest Cronbach's alpha value, which is at 0.820. This means that the study is good. Last but not least, the independent variable safety scored 0.813 Cronbach's alpha value, which also indicates that it is good. Finally, the dependability statistic for each variable all yielded a positive Cronbach alpha score. This means that all of the variables are stable, constant, and positively related. Based on the above table, safety implementation on public transport services shows the highest mean score, which influenced the user's perception in Kuala Lumpur, followed by maintenance in the second rank. Meanwhile, punctuality of the public transport ranked third, and lastly, accessibility to the public transportation station and road congestion ranked in the last place with the lowest mean score. In this study, the objectives are always a crucial factor to consider while making a decision. According to the findings on this study, both objectives were met. Improving the pedestrian walkways is the first recommendation for a better implementation of the public transport services. Pedestrians are the third most casualty classification in Malaysia, behind motorcyclists and auto drivers tenants. With regards to pedestrian safety, kids are among the most defenseless common gatherings, adding speed limitation signs and a crossover bar for slow-moving vehicles. Furthermore, extending the target market and delivering more pole is recommended for the future researcher. The researcher proposed that future analysts who wish to look further into the study expand the objective market. The future researchers can build the example size and appropriate extrapoles to get more dependable outcomes. That's all from me. Thank you.